And mic check 1 2 3. I think we are good to go.
But yeah, when you have a calf strain or like a bad hamstring and you play on it anyway, you're always like you said, like D said, you're redistributing all the muscle work that all the stuff that would get separated into other muscles. Now you're compensating. So something that you're not supposed to be putting that much emphasis on is overcompensating, and you're running, especially the way that those dudes play. Halliburton playing on a busted calf. It was a matter of time. Like I'm sure he got advice not to do that, and he did it anyway.
I think you can see that in his reaction when he's like, no, because it's like one of those reactions where he knew it could possibly happen. And he was holding out hope without hope that he could get through the game.
He heard it. He felt it when it went out. And when you look at the replay, the way it usually happens when you got that push off and they just fall like they just got shot.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's the one
quintessential
look
of a
sure sign. And like I said, the stakes of him being an integral piece to the team. Game 7, you hate to see, love it or hate it, you hate to see a player go out this way in the finals. And if they lose, Hallie could be like, if I was there, things could have been different, right? But this could be an opportunity for other people to step up.
It could be. And for what it's worth, I mean, currently where they are in the game, it's not like they're missing him that much right now, and I don't mean to trivialize his injury or his presence, because it's a big deal to lose him, especially at that point. It's a bigger deal for him because he knows it's a long road ahead of him, because
he's gone for the next season.
Yeah, and it's never gonna. He's gonna have to get it all back. He's gonna have to get.
He's gonna have to, and then never. Well, he's young, so he could probably bounce back. But God forbid if that happens to a player that's even a little bit older.
His game is not on explosiveness either.
No, that's true.
I mean, not like Antwords or something like that. So he might not be the same player, but I think the way he plays, he could be all right.
And of course,
he's also, like you said, young enough to kind of recover from it. And I think with the benefit of modern technology and modern physical therapy techniques, he could probably get by some of the hangups that past players had when they had those type of injuries, even at that age.
And to compound the disaster, Trinidad is now tied instead of ahead. They're 1-1 in their match against Saudi Arabia. Great. And we need this win to go to the next stage, to the knockouts.
And the World Cup is next year?
No, this isn't qualifiers. This is it's CONCACAF, which is a really complicated way of saying it's an American tournament, an American soccer tournament. I don't even remember what CONCACAF stands for. We got to win
something. We got to set something up where we can win something.
It's just, I was telling Cam, that's really kind of true. I was telling Cam, it's really weird that FIFA would have their Club World Cup start the same time that CONCACAF is happening. It's our tournament. Like it's us, South America, Canada, and then whatever guest we decide, and the Caribbean nation. I think Caribbean nations, or no, sorry, not Caribbean nations. It's whoever we decide to invite as a guest, which could be anybody from anywhere. But it's just, it's very strange that they would do. I mean, they obviously do not care, as FIFA tends not to. But it's just really weird that you would have the Club World Cup happening the same time that this big tournament is happening. This is a big deal in our area of the world. Very strange.
Well, that good old American ethnocentrism. That ain't nothing's better than what good old America doing. When America doing it, and when America decides to do it.
Well, FIFA is like that, but on a much larger scale. Like they operate very much the same way with the same attitude. Mm-hmm. Like FIFA will do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and they will bribe and grease whatever wheels they need to make it happen.
Oh, so FIFA's doing this. I thought you said this was American.
Two separate things. So the Club World Cup is FIFA. The CONCACAF, which stands for, that I never remember it, so I had to look it up. The Confederation of North, Central, and Caribbean Association and Caribbean Association Football, which grammatically makes no sense. But yeah, so those are the two separate entities. So CONCACAF is happening right now, but it happens every year. We do it every year. I think every year or every other year. And then FIFA, which is weird because it's also a FIFA affiliated associated thing. I'm reading. I didn't know that. So FIFA has two events going on right now, both of them in the US, but the Club World Cup is going to suck up all the air for that. So I don't know why you would do that and have both of these tournaments running side by side, but
it'll be interesting, I suppose.
I mean, hey, listen, more soccer is more soccer. I'm gonna watch both of them.
So, and also to add on that, we as fans of football, non-US football, know how corrupt FIFA is, and we still watch the games because we love the game. We love
them that much.
We know how jacked up it is. We understand that, and we also realize that we love the game. So we have this moral compass that you can call us out on and call us hypocrites. And we understand that. We're fully aware of how corrupt FIFA is, but the game is a beautiful game. And like I said, the World Cup is the one time you will catch my ass in U.S. American flag colors rocking the country.
Same.
Because I've been to World Cup in 2014, and it's the one time where I told my mom, if we beat Belgium, you might see me on TV acting a fool on the field, waving a flag, looking like an idiot. But because it's World Cup, that is the only way 100%. You will catch me rocking that red, white, and blue, and it's not 4th of July. And I don't even celebrate 4th of July.
100%.
It's a story for another day.
Same for same. Yep. That unless they play in Trinidad, in which case,
well, allegiance is allegiance.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one caveat to your statement. To your statement from me.
So, soccer is football is the world's game. So,
D'Angelo is not a soccer.
It is. Though. I mean, I'm not anti-football, or I try to call it football. That seems to be the more
the prevailing
appropriate thing.
Put it like this: don't ever feel bad for calling it soccer because we didn't invent that.
Yeah, no.
I don't feel bad for calling it soccer when I slip up, but it's...
but the fact is, the country that invented soccer called it soccer.
I didn't know that.
Yes, England invented that term. So
fun fact.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. That's football is the Spanish is usually the Spanish term for it. That's true. Yeah.
So I remember I was in line for a game, and we were talking games, and one of the guys, I don't know where he's from, he was like, "Oh, you're American, you don't know football." And I was like, "Excuse me, sir." I was like, "Pardon me? I would be paying all this money to come out here if I didn't appreciate the game," which I got more into during the maybe early mid-90s when there was the Jogo Bonita ads for the Nike push, and it reminded me of the And One stuff and a basketball crossover because it had a little street, little flavor. And I started following then. And then I started hanging around folks in college that were soccer nuts, just giving me up on the sport itself. And, and then once I went to London, you know how I picked Chelsea? When I was in London, I was just like, I'm going to pick me a team.
Okay.
And chose Chelsea. Like, I didn't ask anybody. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with them. And then, lo and behold, I started following the team and, I inherited Drogba and Lampard and all that, and so it was cool.
That was a good listen. That squad, even though they didn't win a chip, respectfully, is still one of the best squads y'all ever had. That was a monster team.
I mean, it was before them, but that's how I picked my team.
No, I get it.
I didn't know the history because everybody got Man U or Arsenal or Liverpool. I was just like, yo, this kid is sick. I'm thinking I'm a Chelsea fan, and then I start watching. I was like, yo, these dudes is pretty cool, and then that's how I fell into it. But I've been watching prior to that. I just didn't have a club team. I was always rooting for the Brazilians because I like their flavor, and also the Americans because I'm gonna represent in World Cup and in the Olympics for basketball. I'm gonna be like, yo, let's go America. We dominating, right? But again, we are in the World Cup, the World Cup. The Americans are, and for lack of a better term, and no disrespect, we are the Trinidad and Tobago of the World Cup. No one gives us the respect. You know.
I mean, for me, so I came to it. I mean, I'm Caribbean, so like you, always like I grew up
born with it.
Yeah, I was born with it, but I didn't really get into it until Dwight York came about in the '90s. And so Dwight York was like a national hero. He was just one of the nicest dudes at football that we've ever produced, that went pro anyway. And so when he left Trinidad, when he started playing, I think it was Sunderland was his first team. When he started playing for them, I was like, well, I guess I'm watching Sunderland games. And then he came to Manchester United, but he came to Manchester United, and then shortly after that, Beckham, Giggs, and somebody else all came up out of the academy they all got called up, all three of them at the same time, alongside Dwight York, who was already nasty, and just like that was the beginning of us winning every year for like 26 years straight.
So can I tell you? I was gonna say I'll finish this, and I'm gonna tell you a quick funny story about my introduction to soccer etiquette too.
So I like you initially. I was just like, I just watch whatever. Like I appreciate football for what it is. I didn't necessarily watch I didn't necessarily have a team. And then this dude came along and he started playing for United. I was like, well, I guess I'm a United fan now. I don't know. Like I they seem to be the only team I watched. Then he left, and I was like, but the team, like, what to do? So do I not watch them anymore? I couldn't not watch. Yeah. Then they got Ronaldo. Then they got Van Nistelrooy before him. And then when Van Nistelrooy bounced, we were like, what are we gonna do? Hey, we got Ronaldo. And then Ronaldo started representing. And then, like there was just this ongoing list of top tier talent that we either bagged from somewhere else or just pulled up, decided, you know what, we got this kid in the academy that's pretty nasty at this one position we need filled. Let's call him up. There was just no end to how talent would just pop up out of nowhere. And it would just be like, not just average dudes filling a role, but like Ronaldo's and Van Nistelrooy's and Beckham's, like just names that are synonymous, and Dwight York's, the names that were synonymous with not just good football, but like legends of the game. And I just couldn't stop watching. Like, so before I knew it, I had me a United jersey.
One correction: his first club team was Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
So it was like 89 to like 98, and then after he came to Man U. But I wanted to quickly segue when I was at World Cup. I didn't understand the jersey swap thing. If somebody wanted to swap my U.S. scarf with another Belgian scarf.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't want to do it because I was like, I paid good money for this, not understanding the etiquette of it.
That's what you do. Yeah.
So I was a noob behind it. I was like, what the fuck am I going to swap? Y'all just beat us. Like, why am I going to swap?
Nah, it's respect. It's a respect thing. It's 100% a respect thing.
It's like a trophy taken from...
Well, it's a thing you do. You swap jerseys. That's just the culture, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, nah. But at that tournament, Tim Howard, I think, was a keeper in 2014.
Yes.
He stood on his head against Belgium because I thought he was going to get smoked. And there was a lot of Chelsea players on Belgium, so I had mixed feelings about that. You know what I'm saying? And so the game should have been like 10-0 Belgium. But Tim Howard, man, he played a magnificent game. And after that game, I had a lot of fans from other countries come up to me when I was rocking my U.S. jersey and say, yo, you guys are kind of legit this year. Like that was a good showing. So I felt good. I was like, yeah. And then Wikipedia, they changed Tim Howard's Wikipedia page to the Minister of Defense. So it lasted for a day, which was pretty cool. And nice. Even the Minister of Defense was like, yeah, let that rock for a day.
Yeah.
So because of the country versus country.
So listen, I want to shift the conversation really quick.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple things. Apparently, there's this Newsweek article about Thunderbolts filmmaker Josh. No, that's not his name.
I was gonna say I didn't make that film.
His name is Jake. His name is Jake Schreier. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. Anyway, the big to-do is that apparently he's being tapped to direct the X-Men film.
Interesting.
He directed Thunderbolts.
Okay.
I know that you got, well, I don't know if you saw Thunderbolts, Cam, but I know you saw it. You said you did or you didn't?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, is this the guy for X-Men?
If it's well written, I could see him doing something with it. He handled the ensemble for Thunderbolts pretty decent, I will say.
Yeah.
So
I think that would be the marker, right?
I wouldn't be. Say again.
That would be the marker, right? How he was handling.
Yeah, how he handled an ensemble.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd be more concerned about the writing than who's directing. I think I mean, a director. Don't get me wrong. As a hater of all things Bryan Singer, I know that
you want to be concerned
matters.
about both.
Yeah, you ought to be concerned about both. But you know, I would say in the stable of Marvel directors, I don't think if they pull, with the exception of the guy who did Ant-Man 3, and he didn't write it, he just directed it. But yeah, I would say anybody in the stable of Marvel that's done an ensemble film will probably do okay. This guy handled Thunderbolts pretty well, I would say. I didn't have any problems with the ensemble aspect and, you know, who got what kind of time, with the exception of Ghost. Ghost definitely got short shrift. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Cam, what do you think?
I was just checking this guy's page real quick. He doesn't have a lot of history with like movies as a director. He's only got 3 movies.
He hasn't done much.
No.
Yeah, but that's not to say he can't do it. And it feels like he made his bones in music videos and whatnot, and some television. And one interesting thing I've noticed was one of the episodes he directed was, I guess, for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which I haven't seen. So again, I think it comes down to 90% of the directors. Like if it's good writing, you should be able to, you know, make a good story, but you know, the director has a vision and that ultimately has to translate well to film. And I think we as Marvel fans are very protected of the X-Men because we saw X-Men 97. We saw what the past was like with all the X-Men movies in hindsight. And we saw X-Men 97. We was like, okay, we're kind of back on board. Let's not mess this thing up. So with that said, sure, why not? What could go wrong?
It's like a ring endorsement, but it's not a no. It's definitely not a no.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for it to be a no. He doesn't have enough to say nay, but he's got a good one under his belt so far, which is Thunderbolts. But you know, I think to the point that you made just now about X-Men 97 and the history of the movies, I think you can't approach X-Men with the same mentality of the Marvel machine as with the other MCU films. You want to get it the director it needs, the writers that it needs, the creative team that it needs. This is my worry about we'll see what happens with Fantastic Four, but I just, you know, my worry is that it's still kind of getting that sort of run-of-the-mill Marvel machine-like treatment, as opposed to each of these films kind of being able to stand on their own.
From what I know, the talk has always been that Kevin Feige is aware of what the Fantastic Four means to Marvel, the brand Marvel. They are, you know, the first family of Marvel, and also the first big breakout, among the first big breakout hits that Marvel had in the 60s that sort of cemented their brand and their name. So I think being aware of that and being aware of just what he has on his hands in terms of the Fantastic Four and what and where it sits in the pantheon, I hope. I don't think it's gonna get just any old treatment. I don't think it's gonna get be part of the wash, rinse, and repeat that Marvel has been doing. I hope I'm right. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think I think this will be its own. It'll be a little closer to being its own thing, is my guess and hope.
Like about the Fantastic Four film.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's done now, so I guess we'll see in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks. Yeah.
If what you said is true, and hopefully you're right. Yeah. I mean, because I think we do need that kind of renewed energy for Marvel right now. They don't have the momentum.
I personally have not looked into any extra trailer or hold on one second. No trailers, no footage, no spoilers of Fantastic Four, because again, it's a simple formula for me. Have a good narrative, good story. Don't mess up Doctor Doom.
Is he in it?
I don't know.
Fantastic Four movie, he's supposed to appear, right? I think he's supposed to appear.
I mean, we know Doctor Doom is supposed to be somewhere in there.
Yeah,
but
Robert Downey Jr. I'm still curious to see how that's going to shake out.
Look, again, I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan, but I am a big Doctor Doom fan. I do like Silver Surfer. I do like Galactus, and so they run congruent with each other. Getting back to John Schreier, like I said, he did Thunderbolts really well, and to all fairness, he was dealt an unfair hand because we are burnt out from Marvel movies, and a lot of people may have missed on a decent Marvel movie. So I think based off what I saw, I said, no, this movie is okay. It's worth watching in theaters. And so if that was enough indication to say, hey, I think we want to pin you for the new X-Men movie, go for it. Because right now he's 1 for 1. Like let's see what happens.
Right.
Let's get.
And there's also the change in mentality, right? You got Thunderbolts is what it is, but you got X-Men. Like now you're ready to step your game up. Like you're ready to do the best for and by the characters and
I think
that's what you're.
And I think they also know, like, if they screw the pooch on Fantastic Four, that might be something that you can get past. Screw the pooch on X-Men, that's not going to be. That's it. That's especially for the precarious position that Marvel Studios finds itself in now, with not having, they're not automatic anymore. There's no more, hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Even the weakest Marvel movie in Phase 1 was still a hit. So, and even in Phase 2, pretty much everything up to, I would say, probably Age of Ultron has been rock solid. Maybe I think
he had a little bit further beyond Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying, in terms of everything being bang, 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 bang.
I would also add on, if you can capture the spirit of what X-Men 97 did.
Oh yeah, you have the template that was.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't have to be X-Men 97, but I'm just saying.
But in terms of, like you said, you put it perfectly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
If you can get the essence of it down, the way that the
because X-Men 97 got the essence of the X-Men down,
yes.
Even from the fighting to the interactions between each character, to the fact that not one arc was about one individual, that every single one of them were tied to the greater scope and their own micro stories. And that is what we want, as opposed to, we're just going to focus on Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, or, this character, or, white man in a suit villain, as opposed to getting Bastion, who is, Nimrod and descendant of Master Mold and all of these.
Like I said, make Colossus very creative. Cool again. Make Colossus cool again. Show the X-Men as a team, a unit. Yes. Give us glimpses of the combination link-ups, like the Nightcrawler Wolverine fight. Stuff like that.
We were just talking about Josh and I were just talking about, because I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is so good. Like, you didn't get this Nightcrawler in the X-Men films when they did use the character. And you got a little bit of Wolverine, but not like that. That.
It's funny, you got too much of Wolverine, but not the Wolverine that you wanted to get.
That's what.
I was absolutely playing off of what you just said. It was that's exactly.
I'm glad you said it, because
you got it right.
That's exactly how I felt. Is like you got too much Wolverine, and then some of it was good. Logan was really good, but I want the Wolverine falling out of the sky, just slicing up
Sentinels on the way back
and not
down.
caring that on the way back down, and don't care because he knows that he'll be absolutely fine once he lands on the ground.
He knows his capabilities, and so it's not. He throws himself into things because he knows no matter what, I'm going to be okay, and I'm the only one on my team that can say that. Even Colossus can't necessarily say that.
Are we recasting X-Men with this new director, or is this like
how does it work?
I'm pretty sure that's part.
I think after Secret Wars / Doomsday, whichever one they're going to be in, I think because I think they've pretty much called back most of the original cast.
Oh yeah, they're doing the nostalgia thing.
They're doing the nostalgia thing, 1, and then 2. These guys are still under contract, so before their contracts expire, they're going to
50 and 60 years old and 70 years old.
So I think, So I think what they're going to do is they're going to squeeze
80. They're going to. Pat Stewart is in his 80s.
Yes, he is. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to squeeze out whatever little bit of juice they have left in before the contracts expire, and sort of do like a Deadpool and Wolverine thing, where they're going to pay homage to the Fox. To the Fox actors and characters before they wave bye-bye and let them drift off into the sunset, and recast the entire thing.
Okay. I guess. I mean, that seems like a colossal waste of time. But I guess if they got if they got on the contract and they just don't want to give them the money, which they have, just be like, here, just fine. We're starting anew. It's time to move.
You need to recast all of those characters.
It's time to move on.
Well,
this is talking 20, almost 30 years going.
Well, I think also,
and most of the people who are, go ahead, Josh.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're among the few who don't have kind words for the Bryan Singer X-Men movies. I think is first and foremost. So that frames the context for that we're coming at this from, because there are a lot of people who do like them. And I think from a business standpoint, if you want to sort of yank in that crowd, even though I believe anything with X-Men at this point is automatic, people are going to go see it. But I think if you want to pull in that crowd that is slavish to, the Famke Janssen as Jean Grey, and Halle Berry as Storm, who is not coming back because she's done. And all the other originals, this guy Alan Cummings is gonna play Nightcrawler again. So,
I forgot. I honestly it didn't click until recently seeing it that he was Nightcrawler to begin with.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. You're right from a business perspective. But I still think it's just a colossal.
Oh, absolutely. I just, as someone who did not like anything before First Class, I think it's a colossal waste of time, and B, you could just rip off the Band-Aid and start fresh.
They should, because I mean, for that crowd of Fox fans that you're talking about, they're either going to get on board with what's new, especially if it's good and it's actually like the X-Men. Or they're going to be like, I'll just be nostalgic forever and just go to my DVDs or go to Disney Plus and watch the old films. But to try to, it reminds me of the whole Schneider Cut culture thing. Like, whereas like sometimes capitulating to fans is just a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're still going to say, well, we can add it. It's the business money making thing. But to Cam's point, these actors are all in the septuagenarian range. They're all kind of, they haven't been in besides Patrick Stewart, a lot of them haven't really been in these kinds of roles for a long time now. And Hugh Jackman, obviously. It'll be interesting.
By the way, this is Blerdlines, and it's me, Cam, and D, and we're talking about whatever we feel like today. We didn't introduce ourselves, so hi.
Hi. Hi.
It just occurred to me.
We didn't introduce ourselves, and we are down one man today, but we are doing our traditional part about nothing. And so for me, it's like you hear us talking and you're listening. So obviously, clearly, we don't need to introduce it. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to deride the audience.
Yeah. Take this as you just stumbled in the room, you saw three brothers talking, and you just happened to be ear
That's really what exactly this is. Because we were talking about all of this stuff right before we hit record and just kept on talking. So,
Yeah. And so as you come in, we're talking about the fate of X-Men and obviously the MCU.
So hi.
We got Fantastic Four coming up, first steps next month, which will be obviously competing a little bit with Superman. So we got an actual real-time Marvel versus DC in theaters next month.
And a good one, as opposed to Civil War versus Batman versus Superman. That was hilarious to me. Because I don't know if you guys remember, they were slated to come out on the same day, like they announced the same day, and I think BVS was the one that blinked, if I remember correctly. They were slated to come out.
Definitely blinked because, it was blinked because it exposed the whole thing. Because remember, initially, he who will not be named was going to do Man of Steel 2. Yes. He wasn't going to do the expanded DC universe stuff. But because Marvel had kind of rocked out as hard as it was, and it was, and they had planned Civil War. So now they're doing not just the Avengers, they're doing all these little, so now Warner Brothers is like, oh, we could do that. Mm-hmm. So let's put Batman in the next Superman. Let's just adapt The Dark Knight Returns and not read it. we'll just take all of the images from the panels and make a movie. And that's pretty much, and then combine that with the death of Superman. And that's pretty much what they did for that. But you're right, it was they backed down,
which I thought was hilarious.
But I don't think we're going to have that case now. We're not going to see a backing down. But I also don't think that they're spread out enough to where they're not actually heads up competing for the same box office numbers. But I could see a situation where if Superman is a kind of hit that they're hoping for, it may cause a little bit of trouble for the Fantastic.
I'm 100% sure. If you ask me to bet, and I'm a Marvel guy to the death, but if you ask me to bet, if you ask me to put my money where my mouth is on which one is going to come out on top, I'm putting my money on Superman because James Gunn is that nice.
Well, not only that, but there's a palpable renewed energy for this thing, right? For this new effort to do a DC cinematic universe, right? So this is where ideally they should have began from the
jump
way back in 2009 or whenever Man of Steel was released. You have a Superman who is 3 years or whatever into, it's basically taking the same tack that the Batman did, which is we're beyond the origin story's point, right? James Gunn put it best. We know who these characters are. We know because we've gotten their story or a variation of their origin for the last 70, 80 years. Right, exactly. And not just, the same thing with the Fantastic Four director. You can see that there was a similar tack. Like, we don't need to do a full-blown origin story for these characters. there's enough about them out there and in all of these mediums to where we can just hit the ground running. So that's energy that we got in the favor of Superman. And I say again, that energy is a little bit there for the Fantastic Four as well. It's this idea that we don't have to start from the beginning. We can, for a change, let's drop the audience in the middle of their world and not, at the start of it.
Yeah, I agree. And just the origin story in general is kind of overdone. Like, if it's a character like Doctor Strange that people may not know a single thing about, cool. Spider-Man does not need that. We know he got bitten by a spider, and we know he got powers, and had the talk with Uncle Ben.
That's why Homecoming worked.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, it's not, that's why like, Batman Begins should be the last origin story for Batman we ever see. We get it.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because Batman Begins was the only origin story superhero that it was the one that kind of started the trend, and it was really the only one that kind of did it and really did it well. I mean, there's some other ones. I would say Iron Man was good,
sure,
as an origin story. Yes. And there's a few others, but those were all in the same vicinity, right? You had Batman Begins, and 2 years later Iron Man. So there's that movement of the origin story. I'm trying to think of another one that was, because I didn't think Thor was that good, but it wasn't really an origin story. Captain America was okay. That was pretty good.
The Batman we're talking about, the Robert Pattinson Batman?
No,
Chris Nolan's Batman.
Nolan, Batman Begins. The Pattinson one is not
it's not an origin story, because I was like, Batman's already established in that world. So
yeah. He's had, when we meet that Batman, he's already about 2 or 3 years. And it's good you brought that up, because that brings me back to the original point about Superman. This version of Superman is that when the credits open and we first meet this character, he's already about 2 or 3 years into being the Man of Steel. So that establishes that the world knows him. He's probably already saved the world once or twice. So that, again, is taking us back to kind of how superhero stories used to be told, right? Because Tim Burton's Batman was not an origin story. When we first come on screen, the criminals are talking about being afraid of the Batman and all of that stuff. And so we don't need origin stories that we can. I'm glad that we're moving away from.
Man, it's not necessary
in movies.
Like, and at this point, if you've even seen more than one iteration of a Batman or a Superman, and at this point, they're so fixed in our lexicon, like in the pop culture landscape, that my mom probably knows Superman's origin or Batman's origin at this point.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So mom is 100%. Like, isn't that story about that illegal alien that came to planet Earth?
It would be exactly in those terms or similar like it. She won't know. His own planet exploded and he was put in a rocket and all this other stuff. But the gist of it.
But she know he flies, and she knows he's incredibly strong, and that, like, he wears a red cape, man. And that's pretty much what it is. It's like these characters are so much embedded in. That's why I was thinking. You think about it. Superman has struggled this much to get to this point, and he's legitimately the first superhero, like legitimately the first superhero, the first superhero character ever. And he's the one that struggles to really cultivate a modern audience. But I think that's because of what he is and his ideas and again, the modern audience being what it is. So it seems like Gunn has struck that balance, right? Sort of being not almost tongue-in-cheek and self-deprecating,
and the balance,
which is great,
and the balance is, he, on the one hand, he's mom apple pie and truth, justice, in the American way and all that other yakety yak, but on the other hand, like, in the hands of a skilled storyteller, you can still make that work. You can still make all the things that make Superman without making it cheesy, without making it like Bryan Singer's Superman was just like, what I get what you're trying to do, and Brandon Routh did a better than serviceable job with a not great script. Even as an outline that doesn't work.
That movie was boring. It was 2 hours of nothing.
My out for a lot of films is, I bet you money as an outline this probably worked better than it did when they wrote it out and filmed it. And
there were parts of that worked,
right?
So you can see that.
But I don't count Bryan Singer's Superman among that group. Like, I feel like even as an outline, there were certain things. If you just break it down to its barest bits, in terms of this happened, and then this happened. When you get to the Kryptonite continent, when you get, you know what? I'll even allow for that. But where it all falls apart for me is Superman lifting a continent of kryptonite,
made of kryptonite,
with kryptonite growing out of it. So it's not even just that it's made of kryptonite. There's more kryptonite propagating as it goes along. And this man,
so it's basically radioactive to him.
It just being on the same hemisphere as that thing probably should kill him. Forget him lifting it up.
A mile within that dang continent.
Dude, I'm saying being on.
Caused him great
I'm
pain.
going further than that. I'm saying being on the same side of the planet as that thing. It's a continent, so there's no way.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
What I mean? So much less for him lifting it into space and then surviving a free fall from orbit, from the upper atmosphere, the outer atmosphere, free falling into. There's no way that he should have survived that. I don't care how much sun he absorbs. That should have killed him. He should have disintegrated touching that thing. So
well, Superman Returns definitely had. It had its potential. I liked Kevin Spacey back then as Lex Luthor, but that wasn't that was like Bryan Singer's all of his other comic book efforts. It was him doing a film that he thought was a comic book film, but it was just had like it was like pretending to be a comic book film. I don't even know how to describe it, but the whole thing was boring
and creepy as hell. Like this idea that Clark impregnated Lois and she doesn't remember, and he's like spying on them. Toward the end, he realizes that's his son, and just like, what do you like? The kid has asthma. Like, if he's even half Kryptonian, his metabolism, his whole everything, that boy shouldn't catch a cold, much less have.
But didn't he throw the piano on?
Yes.
on I suppose that was Otis. I can't remember. One of his henchmen, but he throws. He threw the piano on him, but yet he had a bad respiratory system.
That makes absolutely no sense.
It was supposed to be a sequel. It was seemingly hinting at being a sequel to the Richard Donner films, which was also weird. Yeah. But not even like, but it was supposed to be like picking up literally where
I think
that
it was like
film worked.
5 years after the first Superman. No, after the second Superman. Because
the second one is where he goes away.
No, I don't think he goes away, but I think at they posit. So Singer posited at the end of Superman 2, Clark wanted to find out whether or not there were other Kryptonians that survived the explosion. Whether or not there were other Kryptonians who survived Krypton exploding, and so he took off and left, and he was gone for 5 years, and so. That was the premise that they opened that movie with, the Brandon Routh movie.
So Superman Returns is basically Singer's Superman 3.
Bypassing all the other films.
Original. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like that. Those other films not a whole after lot to 2 were easy to bypass, but he just added another turd on top of a pile of shit. So it wasn't. That's all he really did.
Yeah.
He didn't really improve.
You didn't like Nuclear Man? But, or whatever he was.
But anyway, so to point being, we got a very interesting approach with Gunn now, and it's going to be interesting to see releasing on 4th of July. Like it's all got the makings of a successful Superman that kind of story or whatever.
I'm comfortable calling it that. I'm comfortable calling it a success before it actually happens.
I'm not, because I want to see it first, and once I see it, then I'll determine.
I think it's a matter of how successful it's going to be, but I think it's going to be a success.
Yeah, because even beyond us seeing it, obviously, it's about the box office numbers, and then after that, it's probably going to be about whether or not it's critically acclaimed. Because let's face it, the other DCE, the Old Testament DC universe, or another multiverse, they made money. They made lots of it. Like, those movies made money. Even Batman versus Superman, as awful as it is,
came close to $1 billion. Money. But I think it became it got to a point where people wanted to see whether it. As someone put it to me, I wanted to see just how bad it was. So a lot of people knew.
There was a lot of that.
A lot of people knew going in, like, this is terrible, and they were like, "How could you possibly screw up a movie with Batman and Superman in it?" I must
there's
see
an
this car
exchange
crash.
between. There's a dialogue exchange where Superman tells Batman he's done. Don't ever come back or do so. And then Batman asks Superman in response, "Do you bleed?" And he flies and he goes, "You will." I'm like, what is this? Is this? I don't know what to say. It's supposed to be Batman and Superman, but it ended up being, I don't know, like Kane and Undertaker. It's supposed to be Batman and Superman, but it's like, you got God like Superman, you got Ares and Hercules trying to go at it, like one who knows he's a god and he can smite him at any time, and the other one is like, I don't care if you're a god, I'm still gonna kill you. Like, what? Like, they just, and so anyway, Superman coming, Fantastic Four. So we got the whole Marvel versus DC coming up.
Speaking of WB for a second, like, man, they're not doing great right now. Like, they're just short of an. I keep saying it. I predict a vote of no confidence coming for Zaslav any day, but denying him the salary bump, and then the spinoff of all the WB properties. Like, I think there was another spinoff recently, wasn't there?
The whole thing is exhausting. It's just at this point it's just a matter of seeing what the end result is in terms of how badly the overall company disintegrates. So I honestly, we've talked about it so much that I don't even know what else. What if there's more to say about it, except for, at some point either he's got to go, but I think the damage is done. Like, what can you do to recoup all of the monies that have been lost and the reputation that's been tarnished? So, but staying with them, because I think they are producing or distributing the new Jurassic Park world.
Yeah.
Right. So, interesting enough, we were talking about directors and their difference. I had and I still have no interest in seeing another Jurassic World movie.
Yeah.
But then I saw that Gareth Edwards is directing.
I knew that.
Did direct this. I didn't know that. And so I'm kind of a fan of Gareth Edwards and the stuff that he's done. But I don't know if that's enough to make me watch this. This seems like a studio.
I'm going to watch. Are
you going to the movies to see it?
You are?
I'm going to go watch.
Are you going to go to the movies to see it?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know. I was wondering. That says something.
He's going to see it in theaters.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to go see it in theaters.
You taking the youngin to see it or not?
No. This is more of a guilty pleasure, curious, trying to see what this is going to be about, or how it's going to. I mean, I know what it's going to be about, but I want to see how they execute it.
You like monster, the monster kaiju stuff?
Yeah. So I'm just. My final word will be something too about that, but I don't have any hate towards Jurassic Park like other people do. If there's hate out there, I don't. It's kind of like whatever. I watched it. The first one was cool as a kid. I dug it. Second one was all right. I don't really have a hate in my vote about Jurassic Park. I either go watch it or I don't watch it and wait for it to come on stream. It's not a big deal to me.
I don't think it's hate so much as
I'm not saying you guys hate, but some people just be like,
it's overcooked at this point. I think it's been in the oven too long.
And now they're throwing
I don't look at
big
it like
stars in there.
You can only refry beans, but so many times, bro.
So okay, I don't put this in the same playing field as Fast and the Furious. Overcooked.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet because again, they don't have dinosaurs and Mars with rocket ships and stuff.
I'm sure. That. I bet you money an executive has been like,
hear me out. Look, if this movie goes into that realm, then I could be like, all right, now I'm done, right? I'm gonna go watch it. Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like if another Godzilla come out. I've seen Godzilla, King Kong, all this. I still go watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like, all right, I'll eventually get to it. I don't hate it that much. And again,
I still do the monster movies.
Yeah. So for me,
I won't be paying to see. I'll wait for Jurassic for Rebirth. Yeah. But I get you. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just like I don't really. It's not that I don't care because I'm like, I'll go watch it. And then you mentioned earlier, you was like the director behind it is a very interesting director. So I'm like, all right, well, let me go.
Hey, Gareth Edwards is no joke. He did
he did Rogue One.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So and then what Godzilla? What was it? The last Godzilla on Netflix.
He did the 2015 Godzilla, which the only American Godzilla that I thought was an actually good Godzilla film was the one he did, and after that is when they got to, the King of Monsters and King Kong versus Godzilla and all that stuff.
The best Godzilla movie out is Godzilla -1. That is the best Godzilla movie.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm just saying that in terms of Americans who've made a Godzilla movie, the only one that I actually think is a good movie is the one that Gareth Edwards did.
He did. Which one did he do? Sorry.
He did the one that had Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor,
Johnson.
What's his name? Johnson. Yes, thank you, Josh. Ken Watanabe. It was the first one of the
Kaiju series
the Kaiju MonsterVerse that they did. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, the Monarch series. But the way he did it, he set things up, but he wasn't like the movies that followed took it to a whole nother element. Like his was just basically Godzilla is is the apex predator of the planet, and it's defending its turf, and that's it. Like it wasn't Godzilla didn't make any special eye contact with the humans or appear as if he's secretly on our side. Like no, Gareth Edwards kind of kept it the way you want a Godzilla movie because he still had to do the American thing, the monster mash and that, but he did it super visually. One of my favorite scenes is when they're jumping out of the soldiers are jumping out of the parrot. They're diving and they got the red what do you call that? Signal flares, and like it goes to their point of view and you see Godzilla and the monster like battling each other, and it's just that's what I'm saying when it comes to storytelling execution. Like you could tell that a bunch of different ways, but putting it from the point of view of actual human beings seeing this happen, it makes you see Godzilla differently in the same way that Godzilla -1 in the Japanese films always did, which is Godzilla isn't this superhero monster. Right. Godzilla is a force.
Yeah. And I think like a force. I think -1 amped that up to like its maximum capacity, where like Godzilla is not here to be your friend. He's not.
They made Godzilla great again. I was like, yo, this is what I've been wanting.
Yeah. Even the ending after they got him, and then they imply like, oh, give it 10 years. He's gonna reconstitute himself. He's gonna pull himself right back together.
They give you science-backed reasoning behind their belief that he'll be back. Yeah. Listen, radiation, man. He's powered by radiation, and he's a whole other type of being that we've never seen before. And and I forget how they posited it, but basically they were like, you can't really what it would take to kill a living thing of his power and his his capacity and his capacity to heal, like the whole radiation thing by itself says he can heal. So you would have to overwhelm that capacity, similar to Wolverine. Like, you would have to do something to overwhelm his capacity to regenerate himself. Like, there's a comic.
You have to destroy him down onto the very. You have to atomize. You have to destroy him on the molecular level.
There's an X-Men annual that came out in the 80s or 90s. I want to say, like, late 80s, early 90s, where some being or the other, basically vaporizes Wolverine. And a fleck of blood, like a drop of blood, is all that's left. But in vaporizing him, that fleck of blood lands on, I forget, it was like the M-Cron crystal or something like that, something equivalent to the M-Cron crystal in the X-Men universe. That's like an all-powerful, like a tesseract kind of a deal, like a cosmic cube kind of deal. The fleck of blood lands on that and reconstitutes him immediately. That's how that you'd have to destroy Godzilla to that degree, in my opinion, in order to kill him. There's no otherwise. It would have to be it would have to be something on that level that would. And there's no technology, especially in World War II, post World War II. There's nothing that exists that could possibly take down Godzilla to that degree. You could hurt him,
and even still, you would do it. The way it's positioned is that to kill Godzilla would be a suicide thing, meaning like we take him out, but we're also taking ourselves out because we've smoked the planet just to kill that thing. But there's just pivoting. I've been seeing more of the Ironheart trailers, and I want to say here now on the podcast that I am going to watch Ironheart. Yes, I'm going to watch the show.
Oh my God. What prompted?
And it's not even because the trailers make it look great. It's just,
do tell.
I feel like it's just not getting any kind of play or love at all. Like, it's just like trying to be extreme. Like, it's almost like it's being buried. And so I just want to see, it could be a diamond in the rough. It'll maybe surprise me. Every now and then I do these things. I watch things that I have utterly no expectations for. None whatsoever.
I must tell you, this is shocking, but also, I do know you to do this, so that's not that. It shouldn't be that shocking, but it's always surprising when you do it. But I only recently found out that Coogler is executive producing this thing.
That doesn't matter. I'm watching it in spite of that. That doesn't get me more excited about it. That doesn't get me more excited about it. That just is like cool. I knew that already. To your point, to be more serious, I knew that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch it. I'll give it a whack for similar reasons, but also, Black. Listen, this is another one of those things where if it's not a top tier project, Black entertainers, black fronted projects tend to not get the same level of marketing push and marketing sort of like, I believe in this project sort of upfront push that a lot of other stuff gets for that you can tell just by the trailer is mediocre. So yeah, I'm gonna watch it as well. And hopefully
this is a series or a movie?
Series.
It's a series. It's likely gonna be a one and done. I don't because most of their shows are. And honestly, I know what I'm getting into because, and this has nothing to do. I've said, and you all know this. I've said this about Marvel TV. Same with Star Wars TV. Is that so far they don't know how to do serialized television. All said that. And so, yeah. Well, we have, but I've been driving it home and been making no bones about the fact that I don't like to watch those shows. But I'm going to watch this. And you were about to say about, the fact that stuff that features black characters of color don't get the same shine. And that is true. I think what's working against what's her name? Riri Williams, Ironheart. is the Ironheart part, is the fact that her character is so connected to Tony Stark's whatever, even though ironically it's not as connected as people think. I mean, she kind of did her own thing.
It's in the movies, it's
completely disconnected. In the movies,
in the comics,
they're kind of presented that
like the AI for her. So Tony, there was a point where Tony died, because who dies? But so Tony was believed to be dead, and in the event of his death, some AI was supposed to trigger and sort of find the next genius, and so she was the next genius that it found, and it synced up. So the AI in her suit is Tony.
Yeah, so this isn't her fault that she's attached to him, and I think that as hard as they may make it, if more original characters are needed, you know what I mean. So that's what I think is working against her more than it is the character, not the actress or the writers or the director, but just the building interest in the character like that is hard, especially for Marvel, because there's always been emphasis on the proper, Iron Man and, all these, the classic characters. So I just say that to say, I'm going to give it a shot. See if it's good. I don't know if I'm going to watch it week to week. I don't know if I got it in me to do that. I'll probably let it. I don't know if it has to be. It's not going to be that good. I can almost guarantee it will not be. I will say this about mostly anything that they release, Star Wars or Marvel. There is nothing that they have that makes me want to watch it week to week. It needs to be released in sets.
I'm just checking to see if hell froze over, or was there a pig flying above my house when you mentioned you were going to watch.
Checking the air.
Well, look outside, traffic. Maybe, and check the temperature. Maybe there is something going on.
Just checking. The rapture isn't here yet, so we're good. But this is a world first. Hearing D'Angelo talk this
every now and again thing. He'll pull one of these.
Like I said, I'll pluck something from obscurity and watch it because I think that nobody else is going to be watching it, and this seems like something that people are eagerly waiting to hate on. So I am going to watch it. And
we the contrarians of that. So
I'm hoping that I can redeem it. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can get on this podcast and be like, you know what? Ironheart is the thing that's going to save Marvel TV. I want to say that.
I mean,
do I think that I'm going to be able to say that? I don't know, but I'm going to hold out on some hope that might be. Listen, I haven't watched anything since Secret Invasion.
Rightly so.
And so since then, they've had at least 3 shows, right? They've had The Werewolf at Night.
Okay. And I think they came out around the same time. They had
Miss Marvel's.
Miss Marvel was before that. The Marvels was the movie, but Miss Marvel was.
Well, I didn't watch that either.
Nah, Miss Marvel was good. I like.
That's what I'm talking about, Miss Marvel. I didn't.
You mean right? Kamala Khan or Kamala Khan?
Yeah. Well, the point. I'm not saying that it wasn't. My point was that I had already been
disappointed.
Out. Oh. I was out of the Marvel TV game. You are a super fan, so you were still locked in.
I'm wavering though.
I'm
wavering though. It's like I'm already at the point where Star Wars has completely killed my want to watch any of their series. I'll be late on if it's good at this point for a Star Wars series. I'll be late on it. It's fine. I can't invest. The Acolyte broke my back. Where that's concerned.
That was the one that broke your back?
I was already teetering, bro. I've been on the fence for a minute, but
well, Cam, what got you? What was it that took you out of the Star Wars TV?
Oh, TV?
Because that's what you were talking about. Yeah, because he said that Acolyte broke him from Star Wars.
Well, in Star Wars in general, there's been a few movies, but if we're talking just specifically for TV, you could
the recent stuff.
Yeah, you could probably say Boba Fett, where I'm just like, this is trash.
Boba Fett was that broke everybody. Boba Fett was the one that I was like,
that broke everybody. That was when everybody was like, nah, we're not doing.
That was the fracture. And the break was the Acolyte.
And in hindsight, I should have known better because Boba Fett has never been that type of character that should be interesting to me. I just thought they were going to take it somewhere. However,
His father was more interesting than him, Django.
Yeah. So again, I think for me, the problem with Acolyte and the Book of Boba Fett, the premise of a seedy underworld with Boba Fett interested me. And I thought we were going to get an underworld type of story.
Same.
Where, we were going to get corruption or like murder intrigue.
I thought they were actually going to follow up on the Maul being involved, but I guess because Filoni killed him
just a fake false premise of what I thought the direction they're going. And the same could be said for Acolyte. Now, I don't know if it was you or one of you guys hyped me up on it because I did not want to watch Acolyte. But then when y'all explained it to me, Sith lore and what the potential might be, I was like, "Oh,
that's probably me," because that's what I thought.
And I was like, "Let me watch this."
I thought there's little chance that they could screw this up. Like you're going into completely uncharted waters, so you can make whatever you want and just mildly connect it back to what stuff we've already seen, and it was a blank canvas that they could have done anything but what they actually did.
I thought exactly what you said, except the part that they couldn't do it wrong. I just thought that it would be good until I learned before watching that it was set in the High Republic. When I learned that, I was like, "Oh,
I knew that.
I got my my reservation.
I didn't. I knew that out the gate.
I did not. I thought it was set in the Old Republic, and it wasn't. And so that's when I kind of decided I don't know much about the High Republic, and that's a Disney invention.
Yes.
And so immediately, because I had that in mind, I went into Acolyte straight up. When I watched that first episode, I had a side eye, and it's because I was like, this is Disney trying to force their creation, their canon on us, and they're doing it in a weird way. So I was willing to give it a chance because of the Sith story, but it just wasn't executed well. It had some, like anything, any story can work, but it's just about how it's executed. And then they were adding things into the canon that I thought didn't need to be. It was convoluted in a way that wasn't, whatever. I don't want to relitigate the Acolyte, but just to say, for me, with Star Wars, it was probably, with each one, there was something that registered as this isn't a good TV series watching experience, as I have come to understand it in terms of serial drama.
No,
I didn't like Kenobi as much as I thought I would.
It was enjoyable though. It had moments. It had good moments.
It had moments. Those moments weren't great in terms of storytelling, but you're right. It had good moments between, for example, Vader and Kenobi.
Yes.
So those scenes were good, but those were probably the only scenes that were really good. And then Ahsoka, of course, Rebels 2.0. The problem to me was that, and this is with each one of them, doesn't matter how many episodes they have, it doesn't matter what the story is, they focus on plot before character. And each one of them is about these characters trying to solve a plot,
right?
As opposed to us getting to know them and why they make the decisions that they make. That's why Rebels is so good. It's because it's about the characters first.
Moving through the plot, not the plot moving through the characters.
Yeah, the plot is the same each season, just escalated and elevated. It's about a group of individuals building a rebellion. It starts small and then it gets bigger, and every time it gets bigger, the stakes are bigger. And that's what it is. But with all of the live action shows, we start off with Ahsoka trying to stop Thrawn. I get that from a greater scope thing, but how do we get from where she was as a Jedi exile to being kind of background in the rebellion to now trying to prevent Thrawn, and why is she the only one doing? So when you have those plots like that, it raises a lot of questions. So I would have rather seen the season 1 of Ahsoka being about us learning how Ahsoka spends her days for the first, couple episodes. And then she gets pulled into something and she has to decide whether or not she wants to pick up the lightsabers again or she wants to continue on with the life that she's built. Hera comes in from the New Republic and show the New Republic as an actual functioning government. Those are the things that's missing from the live action shows.
Yeah. Character. Yeah. I mean, I'll do so I'll probably do Ahsoka season 2. I doubt I'm gonna do it week to week because I'm already kind of like the taste of the bad taste that Acolyte left in my mouth. Like I really was hoping that it would be what I thought it could have been, and that's not to say that I walked into it with like I walked into it with expectations. Let me not say that. I was about to say I didn't walk into it with expectations. I absolutely did. It just didn't like it. My openness to it was wide. Like, all right, you can do whatever. Just make it good. That's all you got to do is just make it good. That was my expectation. Just be good.
Yeah, I like I said, you guys hyped it up for me. Not like not that I was like blaming y'all. I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying.
I would have never watched.
I absolutely hyped it up because I was like, I got a good feeling about this. I hope I'm right. I have a good feeling about this. It's about the Sith. As softballs go, I gotta tell you that was definitely like just an underhanded pitch. Real slow coming at you over the plate, and they just completely whiffed on it, and it really disappointed me. Like it really left me feeling like if you can't do this, then why am I watching? Like if you can't make this story work, if with the cast of actors that you had, because the actors were pretty good, if you can't make this story work, then what am I doing? What am I investing my time in?
You know what this ranks up there with? When you guys had that expectation for that Star Trek TV show, and I was like, explain the premise. He's like, it's got spies, it's got
which one?
Black Ops
Section
team.
31. Yeah,
talking about Section 31. It is a very similar thing. Yeah.
So and I was like, listening to y'all explain this, and I was like, how'd they mess this up? This sounds like I can watch this.
Bro, if you watch the Section 31 episodes in Deep Space Nine, it sets the premise for this to be a good movie. Like there shouldn't have been
that Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the mid-90s.
That was where the invention of Section 31 is first birthed, and each time Section 31 shows up, it's a good episode. Even so,
and it's a big
deal, and it's arguably I like Bashir, but he's easily the weakest character. I would not weakest. That's harsh.
No, he's the most contemptible character in the crop of in terms of characters that you don't like, not because the writers don't want you to dislike him, but because he's obnoxious and every time he's on screen, you don't want him. You wish he would go away. But Bashir was always involved in Section 31 plot lines. Section 31, excuse me, plot lines, and it made him interesting.
Yes.
You were interested because it was Section 31, not because Bashir.
Well, the combination, because he was the least likely individual you would think of all the cast members on the show to be recruited by an organization like Section 31. Literally anybody else.
Actually, when you think about it, he wasn't the least likely because of his background. I was
going to say he's right, because he was genetically engineered, but also, in terms of the personality trait, like Akira, a Worf, an Odo, even like any of those characters, I could see being put to best use by Section 31, except they probably would find the organization reprehensible. He has of all the characters on the show, he has the least, aside from being genetically engineered and thus a genius. He's not the most equipped character in that cast that you would think would be recruited by a Black Ops organization. So it was interesting, that they chose, but he's the most that I'm sure Sloan probably thought he's the most pliable because of his proclivity to playing at spy in the Hollow Suites and all that other stuff. that he has multiple episodes in. But I think he was probably the most he was assumed to be the most pliable recruit because he's the least.
Yeah, and to the bigger point is that part of the legacy of Section 31 did not show up in the movie that they released at all. And so similar to Acolyte in the conversation that we were having is that when Josh and I have read the Bane trilogy and, you've played Knights of the Old Republic that featured Darth Revan's story and like the ancient Sith Lords of old, you kind of had an expectation that this would reflect some of that, but they put it in an era where the Sith are incredibly clandestine. So the idea that somebody's out there recruiting openly like that for the Jedi to catch them is just a complete misinterpretation of the Sith canon. And as long as Bane is there, they have acknowledged that Darth Bane exists in the Disney canon. They cannot
there's no way that
walk away from that.
Yeah, there's no way that you have that. No.
The first time that the Jedi become aware that there are potentially Sith Lords
is the Phantom Menace.
Is Phantom Menace. Yep. That's how tight the Sith Lords were. Each Dark Lord of the Sith after Darth Bane, they cultivated a culture where they did not want to be known by others. It was more beneficial to them to have the Jedi go thousands of years believing that they were gone, and the whole time they were right there. Mm-hmm. The whole time they were right there under their noses. And there isn't a gap in which there isn't two Sith Lords, a master and apprentice out there. So if you showed that, but not in a way so if that had ended with the Jedi suspecting something and investigating, and then they find a red blade wielding Force user, and that character had to immediately kill the Jedi so that they would not report it back. Yeah. You would have had a whole big thing, because now you have a protagonist villain who is completely trying to protect themselves from being discovered by the Jedi. But it's not just about themselves. It's about protecting the Sith Order in general.
Yes, there you go.
It's about protecting the Sith Order in general. Because the Sith Order is always the rule of two after Bane. A master and an apprentice. The master has the power. Yep. The apprentice covets the power. Yep. The apprentice, at some point, and the master's aware of this, will attempt to murder him to take the title of the Dark Lord of Sith. And the master will encourage that the entire time. So there's a lot of meat on those bones.
Yep.
And
with just those three sentences right there. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Like, there wasn't no need to do the whole mystery of who's the stranger and all that stuff. It's like, no, because the Sith wouldn't want the Jedi to know that they were even around. Like, they would be doing all of that stuff. If they recruited Osha and the twins, it would be in total secret, like total secret. The only way the Jedi who found that out would have to run, because the Sith Lord would literally chase them down to try to kill them.
You know what it
and
sounds
so we
like?
Didn't get any of that.
It just sounds like the Acolyte could have been a good series if it was an unsolved season 1. Like, we just never knew. And just saw things happen. So, or we
have
as
the
audience, we the audience knows, but the Jedi
the Jedi don't. Yeah, exactly. That's the Hitchcockian type of suspense, where you tell the audience more than the characters know. The Jedi assume that it's some Jedi gone rogue. Obviously, there's lightsaber burns and wounds and things like that. Because the Sith had not been seen for thousands of years, the term Sith probably wouldn't even come into their mind. Because remember that at that point, the Jedi are completely arrogant. they are like top tier imperious. Like they haven't had a challenge in thousands of years. The Mandalorians are gone, or not gone, but they have been reduced. Yes, incredibly quieted since the Mandalorian Wars, when Revan was part of their team, and he was like literally throwing off Jedi and defeating the Jedi left and right. That's gone. The Sith Lords they think they're gone, but their order, the way it existed, their empire is gone. And so they're incredibly arrogant, which they showed a little bit of that. But this is why by the time Sidious makes his move, the Jedi have completely, I think they trivialized the fact that the Jedi were leading soldiers to war. Like that was how Sidious could be right in front of them, and even Yoda couldn't see that he was part, because the dark side literally had clouded everything. Like they and none of this is present in the Acolyte. So, I don't want to we could go all day about the Acolyte, and I don't want to keep talking about it, but that's a good comparison that you made, Cam. Section 31 is to Star Wars fans, to Star Trek fans, what Acolyte is to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Most definitely.